Well, welcome back, everybody, to the Clubhouse Miles podcast once again. This week, I'm joined by the amazing Jen Dunn. And now we are primarily an endurance athletics podcast, but you don't get much more endurance than Ironman triathlon. So we're talking all things Ironman today with Jen. Jen, thank you so much for spending some time with us. I can't wait to get into this with you.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
So you've had quite a journey, haven't you? So there's a bit of context. Ironman, of course, is it's a real endurance test, isn't it? Obviously you've got the swim, bike, run to extreme levels on each discipline. Not only have you done several Ironmans, but you've been at the World Championship race in Kona several times. You were second at the London T100. You know what you're talking about with it, don't you? So can you just give us a bit of a run through about Ironman and everything?
I mean, I still think I'm a little bit of a fraud because I've only been doing it for 6 years. So I'm still relatively new to it. But yeah, so Ironman is a 2.4 mile swim, a 112-mile bike, and then a marathon at the end of it. So yeah, it's pretty punchy for sure. But yeah, a brilliant event.
And your journey into Ironman is one that people find really quite inspirational, isn't it? It's wasn't necessarily where you expected, taking up a bit of exercise to kind of look after yourself, and this is where you ended up.
Yeah, so I'm a speech and language therapist by trade. That was my job, and I had my little girl, and unexpected. I mean, and nobody expects it, but I always wanted children. I work with kids. It was always the plan of life. But I struggled with postnatal depression after having her, and I mean, I'd done a couple of marathons before I had her, and I mean, I wasn't from a sporty background at all, but I found that running helped, escape after work or just give you some headspace. And so whilst at the time there was little support on offer in regards to postnatal depression because it was COVID, I was offered counselling online and with, I think it was a group of 50 people I was offered it with. And I was like, for me, that just doesn't work. But I knew that running had helped. And so I was like, I'm just going to see if I can even just go for the smallest of walks, the smallest of runs. And I was massively struggling with anxiety and getting out and about. So it took a lot of effort to get out. But I just went for, it was initially just a 2 minute run with the buggy. And I felt so much better straight afterwards. And it just built from there, really. And I found it helped, and I was getting counselling separately as well, and I was on antidepressants to help, but it was the fitness that massively helped me. So I did something completely out of the blue and booked a Ironman 70.3, which is a half distance Ironman, just to give myself a bit of a challenge and a bit of focus, really.
I think that's pretty incredible, really, to go from 2 minutes all the way to a 70.3, and then Ironman after that is just incredible. And I think it's pretty obvious to say if you're going to give anybody advice, it would be to start. But what is there, if there is a bit of advice, because you coach now as well, don't you? If there
I
was
do, yeah.
if there was something that you could say to somebody that was either thinking about starting some sort of exercise or sport, like what would it be to get them out the door to help them start?
I mean, I think people can get completely intimidated by, starting following people online and the groups that are out there. It can be quite intimidating. So it's always good to research into things, but I would just, to be honest, just go, right, let's go out for a short distance run, see how I feel. You don't have to have all the top equipment at all. I was definitely using Facebook Marketplace to get a lot of my kit. I still do. So don't be put off by the people around you and by the cost of things. Just go and see how it feels. And it for me, I often go, oh, I don't want to work out today, or I'm not really feeling it. Or definitely when I was at my worst, I was like, I can't do it. But I always made myself put my gym kit on and get out the front door and then decide whether I wanted to do the workout or not. So that because it can be so easy just to go, I'm not going to go out today. So yeah, just give it a go.
And you mentioned online there, and this is something I was planning to talk to you about at some stage, but social media has had a huge impact on the running boom that we've seen at the minute anyway. And I think similarly with Ironman and 70.3, it's starting to get these endurance sports are getting much more attention, and people are almost starting to think that it's like maybe not as far as it is in the sense of people are saying, well, it's just a marathon. Everybody's done a marathon. Do you think that's been a beneficial mindset for the general population, or do you think it's a little bit harmful? Like, what's your kind of stance on that?
I mean, I would say it's absolutely a positive. It makes things more attainable for people, and there is a massive boom with things like High Rocks is soaring at the moment, and the numbers within triathlon, so not just Ironman, it's increasing, and definitely. I do some volunteer work with a charity called Women in Tri, which is aiming to help women get into swim, bike, run, or even just a run, or even just a swim, or just a bike. And chatting to the women there, the fact that it does seem more attainable and it doesn't seem this big scary thing that is only for professionals has massively helped them in so many ways. So not just physically, but also their mental health. The social side of it is huge. And that's one thing that I do love. I mean, there are some groups where it gets very technical and quite competitive, but there are so many lovely triathlon groups out there, which are just such great support networks, which I think is a benefit to anybody. And the groups that I'm part of, it's like a wider friendship group, really, which is great.
That, yeah, I think that's exactly what we want, isn't it? We don't want this kind of harmful sort of vibe that social media can produce sometimes. But
Yeah.
obviously, I had a look through your page and had a look at kind of some of the things that you're doing and the coaching and stuff that you've got. Could you tell us a little bit about the coaching side of things that you do now, and like what that's like and how much you enjoy it? Yeah, kind of your kind of coaching philosophies towards endurance, whether it be the marathon at the end of the Ironman or the
Mhm.
Ironman as a holistic thing, or like, yeah, various things like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, as I say, I haven't been in triathlon that long, but I quickly realized I loved it. And this was a piece of me that I wanted to, if I could in some way, make it a job or, at least definitely my hobby. And so I started doing my Ironman coaching qualification, and there was a part of it that was to help me as an athlete, but also I was thinking if I can coach people, and so I definitely, for me, coaching seemed quite a daunting thing when I started out. I didn't have the technical jargon that's used. I didn't understand half of that was about. And so definitely for me, part of what I want to help do is make it easy for everybody to understand, so that there's not those barriers there of going, I don't understand what zone 4 is or zone 5 is. It's accessible to everybody. And the other big bit about coaching is, for me, I'm juggling it around my day job, but also my little girl. My husband's away a lot with work, so training, it has to work around me and life. And you often hear the stories of, to do an Ironman you have to be training 15, 16, 17 hours a week, and it's just not the case. And so I'm my coaching that I do, and I use Tridot as my coaching platform. And the beauty of Tridot and the face-to-face coaching or the virtual coaching element is that we can make it work around your life. Because it's got to be manageable, right? It's got to fit around what you do, otherwise it's impossible. So I've got one of my athletes is a trauma nurse, so she's on shifts, she's on nights, she's on lots of juggling to make it fit, but we make it work. And that's the main thing that I love doing, is helping people who have a pipe dream and they want to get involved and do something but don't really know how to start, and helping them to juggle it around life is such a key part of it.
Would you say that's one of the best parts of coaching?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the crossing the finish line is as a coach is incredible to see, and I had the absolute honor of watching one of my athletes cross the finish line in Kona at the Ironman World Championships because I was there, and she was racing, and but it's more about the journey of getting the athlete there. So, for example, she had multiple sclerosis, and she became the first athlete to complete the World Championships having, living with multiple sclerosis, but also having two pacemaker surgeries. And so she had a lot of illness, and she'd be texting me going, Jan, I'm in hospital, I can't train today. And so it's the journey of getting that athlete there. That finish line is the icing on the cake, but seeing them to be able to achieve their goals and helping them get there is incredible.
And you said about that athlete that you have helped there. You've come along and like kind of explored lots of various different journeys with various different people, haven't you? Because you host your own podcast called The Toughest Finish Line, which is all about kind of inspirational stories of people overcoming things like that. Could you tell me a bit about the podcast and perhaps what your favorite kind of highlight from doing that has been, and maybe what it's taught you as well?
Yeah, so the podcast kind of came from the fact that I'd through my journey, and so I raced at the Ironman World Championships the first time with the Ironman Foundation, who not many people know about in the UK and in Europe, but they're a charity arm of Ironman, and they support race communities, but also getting bikes and swim lessons for children, which is amazing. And so I raced with them, and as part of that, I met so many people who had just the most amazing and inspiring stories. And I came home and was telling family and friends about, this person and this person. And somebody said to me, they were like, Jen, you should record this and put it in a podcast. And I was like, yeah, maybe that's a good idea. So yeah, it's called The Toughest Finish Line, and it's all about sharing the person's overall story, and the tough finish lines that they've had to get through in life or are still fighting through. So we've had the first the youngest girl who has a diagnosis of autism who crossed the finish line at the World Championships. There's mental health needs, weight loss, neurological conditions, and it's just about sharing those stories about how they've got to where they are, and to hopefully inspire others who might be thinking, I could never do this. We've spoken about suicide, and I've had lovely messages from people saying that's really helped me and come out of a bit of a black hole, which is so rewarding. And I think, I love doing it to help people, but it also massively motivates me because I'm like, wow, if you're getting through, I can definitely get out on my bike and go for a workout today. And just hearing everybody's take on resilience and how they've kept going is super inspiring.
And you talk about like the different obstacles and stuff that people have had to overcome. And when you link that with your own story, like your own journey, it obviously was a very challenging one to build up all the way from not being able to get out the door. But when you've been in training for Ironmans, or you had a target or a 70.3 or something to really go for, have you ever encountered a setback like with the injuries and stuff? And how has that impacted you and your mental health and the journey that you've been on? Because sport's not straightforward, is it?
Absolutely not. No, I mean, I'm the touch wood. I'm very fortunate that I haven't had anything too severe, or but there's definitely been the times when I've been unwell, or I've tweaked my knee or things where I'm like, I can't train, and yeah, it's hard. It's really hard because it's become a way of life, and I find that I'm just so I can think so much clearer after I've done a workout. And I think I'm a better mum. I'm kind of more level-headed. My husband often might say to me, Jen, get out for a run. I think you need it in a nice way, in a completely nice way. But yeah, it massively helps. And as I say, touch wood, I've never had anything that's kept me out of the game for too long. But even if there was, it's about finding a way of doing things just maybe in a slightly different way. And that's one thing I've learned from the podcast, that, you've got somebody who's physically they cannot do something, so they do it in a slightly different way, and it's just about that adaptation, which is the part of coaching which I really love, to make it work for that particular person.
And of the various different events that you've gone through over the last 6 years, is there a favorite Ironman or Ironman event that you've done? And alongside that, a favorite moment from an Ironman? So a specific event, but also a really special memory that one of them might hold.
Oh, I mean, they all have their little elements that make them all super special. I mean, the Ironman World Championships in Kona is just the most iconic race. It's I mean, it's the World Championships. It's in Hawaii, where Ironman was born, and there's just something truly special about it. You know, cycling through the lava fields, and this year, you know, I looked to the left at one point and saw dolphins flipping, and it's truly special. So I think that will always have a place in my heart and be a favorite race. But one of the I think the most memorable moments for me was in that first 70.3 that I did. And my little girl came and I could hear her before I saw her just shouting, "Go, mummy, go," at the top of her voice. And I genuinely thought wasn't going to make it to the finish line. You know, I stood on that start line and had big imposter syndrome and was like, I shouldn't be here. What am I doing? But I saw her on the run and could hear her just screaming, and I was like, I'm going to do this, and that will be like such a special moment because it was such a turning point from struggling with the postnatal depression and actually something good coming out of a really tough situation. So yeah, that one stands out for sure.
Oh, that's given me goosebumps. Like that's really it's so lovely. And yeah, I suppose as you move forward, like that memory, I guess, is going to sit in as a motivator and something that will always be so close to your heart. Um, is there any chance you think that your daughter will get into it and into triathlon? Is that on the cards, do you think, for her?
Uh, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, she's bless her. She was born with low muscle tone and hypermobility. So, in general, things like running and riding a bike are a challenge. But I wouldn't put it past her because she's such a kind of fighter. And when she gets her head on something, she's like, "No, I want to do it." And yeah, so we'll see. She's a great swimmer. She's brilliant. She's in a group with children who are way older than her. That she's the youngest, and she can definitely hold her own, which is amazing. And we've done a couple of park runs with her, of the junior park runs, which are great. And she gets quite motivated by a medal already. So I wouldn't put it past her.
Oh, bless her. That's fantastic. But it sounds like you've got a really nice support network there in your family and your husband saying, "Go on, get out for your run, like it will help," and things like that. How important is that to you? And what part do you think that coaches kind of play in that as well?
Yeah, I mean, the support network is everything, and I'm so grateful that my husband fully supports what I do. And he is the one who, when the self doubt kicks in, he's the one who was like, "Jen, you can do this and do it." And it is a juggle with life and a little one and him working away and things, but we make it work, and I will always be eternally grateful for him with that. But you know, my wider family, they support me, they help with childcare on race day and things. And um yeah, it definitely is a huge part of it. But one thing I would say is, even if I'm lucky that I have that, but even if you don't have that, then yes, coaches, we are trained to be a triathlon coach or whatever, but the coaching element is to be that cheer squad and that person who helps. And sometimes it is just that if you're having a moment of self-doubt, you have that one person who you can text and go, "I'm struggling," or "I don't think I could do this," and just having that one person to kind of cheer you on is huge. And absolutely, that's a big part of coaching, which I'm more than happy to do for anybody, because yeah, I'm a big believer that if you want something, there's a way to get there.
Oh, for sure. And I think, yeah, like the toughest finish line again is evidence of that, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's incredible. Now, a lot of what we do at Clubhouse Miles is based around events and athletics races, and a lot of the people will know exactly kind of what goes into training for endurance athletics kind of disciplines, whether it be 5K, 10K, 1500, marathon. They'll be pretty aware of that. But Ironman is something, like I said earlier, it's a little bit out of our remit. So could you kind of give a bit of an overview as to what Ironman training actually could look like and how people might fit it around their day-to-day lives?
Yeah, for sure. So as I say, I use the Tridot platform, which is an AI system. However, it's based on hundreds of athletes' data, so it makes it really, really bespoke to you. In term, and so what the research shows with Tridot is that you can do less training, but it's the right training, and so you can reduce the injuries, and actually you can be a lot faster. So you don't need to be putting in. If you've got hours and hours and hours, brilliant. But if you haven't got that, then you can do. It's obviously the mix of swim, bike, and run. I definitely need to do more open water swimming, but I'm quite a warm pool. Nice. I enjoy my warm pool and no sea and currents. But ideally, if you can get some open water swims in, that's going to help you no end for race day. My training, I now we're coming into the winter, I'll do a lot of my bike on a turbo in the garage. And as I say, when my husband's away, that's how I'll do my training, is that I'll do it on the turbo in the garage. So I attach my bike to it and put on some trashy telly and pedal whilst my daughter's in bed. And yeah, it's a real mix of kind of easy pace runs to help build that endurance and to be able to go for longer periods of time, but also a lot of threshold sessions. So you can't sustain kind of a sprint for the whole of an Ironman in the same way that you would potentially for any athletics event. So it's about making sure that you manage the heart rate right to be able to help you to go for that longer period of time. So yeah, it's a mix, obviously including strength training. Again, that's one that I need to do more of. Try and fit those in. But I juggle it between, as I say, those later night sessions. Or I'll get up before my little girl wakes up. But there's often times when I'm working, if I'm working from home and on my lunch break, I'll nip out for a quick run. There's definitely been times when I've sat a bit sweaty and I'm on camera trying to do a meeting, but you just you juggle it around. And if you are time limited, then that's where the coaching element comes in, that we work out which is the most efficient session for you on that particular day and what you can fit around your work.
That's really interesting. And I think, yeah, because a lot of athletes, myself included, I fall foul to, well, I just want to go and run, or
Yeah.
obviously I'm getting more into my cycling at the moment, but I just want to go out and be on the bike. Strength training is something that is perhaps forgotten about. So it's reassuring to hear that even sometimes coaches don't necessarily want to get in the gym. And I think as endurance athletes, we like to go and do what we want to go and do, don't we?
Absolutely, yeah. And there's been times when I've gone, do you know what? I just want to go and run and forget my watch and not think about pace, and I just want to get out. And there's definite a place for that, because sometimes you do just need to go and sprint it out or whatever. But on the whole, each session, I mean, every session has its focus, has its reason of how it's going to get you across that finish line.
And when you did cross that finish line in your first full Ironman, can you just talk me through what that felt like and yeah, just the emotions that I'm guessing there was a lot of them that overcame you.
Yeah, absolutely. So my first full I was in Hamburg, as I chose the flattest course that I could find and that I could get to. I didn't want to do hills at the time. Um, and yeah, it's a 4 lapped run. So it was amazing because I could see my family every lap, and the atmosphere was just incredible. But you could run along, you could when you did like went to start your next lap, they tease you, you can see and you can hear the finish line.
That's me.
Um, and I was actually being filmed for a Hocker documentary on that race, and I remember James Mitchell, the camera guy, caught up with me on the last lap. And I kept having to say to him, I was like, "Is it the last lap? Have I done it? Have I done it?" Because I couldn't believe that I done it, and I had my bands on because they give you bands for each time you've done a lap so that you know where you are. And he was like, "Jen, look at your wrist. How many have you got on?" And I was like, "I've got 3." And he was like, "Go to that finish line." So yeah, I couldn't believe it. And they have their first timers bells. So at the start of the red carpet, you can ring the bell as your first timer. And I saw my little girl, my mum and my dad, and my husband, and yeah, it was the most electric feeling. It was incredible. overwhelming feeling that I'd actually made it. I couldn't believe it. But again, it was the whole story of coming through postnatal depression, and what it meant was just incredible.
Yeah, that is just yeah, there's no words that I can really say about it, because that is it's amazing and it's an inspiring thing to hear. And I'm sure you'll probably, or you most definitely have convinced a lot of people to go and do an Ironman with your story through your page and various different podcasts and platforms. But just before we finish, obviously you were second at the T100 in London relatively recently. What was that like? Because London's special for a lot of reasons in the sporting calendar, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. And it's a bit of, I wasn't going to be doing the T100 because I've owned, people are like, Jen, you're crazy. I've only done 70.3 and full Ironmans. I've never done a shorter distance triathlon. Um, and through the work that I was doing with Women on Tri, I was able to get a slot, and I was like, oh, let's just go and see what it's all about. And being close to home, it was just brilliant. I mean, the atmosphere was incredible there, and Lucy Charles Barkley was there, and she's obviously a big figure within the sport, and she won it on that day. But yeah, it was just such an atmosphere. I mean, swimming in the Thames is definitely not my favourite thing to do, and compared to the sea in Kona, it's quite different. There's definitely a different taste of petrol, and it's not quite as clear as the Kona seas. But it was brilliant. It was such a fun event, and it was different for me because again, coming back to that what we were saying about the pacing and the sprinting, I just didn't know how I would deal with it because all I've done is the longer distance. So there was part of me that was like, I need to reserve a bit of energy. I need to reserve a bit of energy. But yeah, sprinted it. And then, yeah, I was looking at the results with some friends, and they were like, Jen, you're second. And I was like, what? No way. So yeah, and then so that was my first podium that I'd had, which was yeah really special, and doing it in London just yeah was brilliant.
Oh, well, congratulations on the podium.
Thank you, thank
That's
you.
yeah, that's so cool. But Jen, thank you so much for spending some time with us today on Clubhouse
No
Miles.
worries.
And thank you very much to everyone for listening. We'll be back very soon with another episode. But yeah, thank you very much, Jen.
Thank you. No, it was great. Great to be on.